The day of our engagement party was the day everything was supposed to start, but it was also the day it ended. My fiancée, Jessica, texted me to say she was running late and would be there in a couple of hours. As I stood there, making small talk with our guests, a local news alert flashed across the big screen we'd set up for a photo slideshow. It was a breaking story about a car accident. A newlywed woman had been found unconscious, needing CPR, alongside another man in the passenger seat. It was Jessica. Everyone at the party saw it. A quiet, stifling laughter seemed to ripple through the room as they shot me strange, pitying glances, all of them waiting to see my reaction, to watch the mask of the happy groom-to-be crumble. That's when an old friend, Clara, stepped up beside me. She looked at the screen, then back at me, her expression serious. Without a word, she pulled a small box from her purse, opened it to reveal a simple ring, and looked me straight in the eye. She proposed right then and there, her voice steady amidst the murmurs of the crowd. She said she would marry me and be the happiest wife I could ever imagine. In that moment of profound humiliation, I saw her as my salvation. I willingly stepped into a new life with her, becoming the quiet, supportive man behind the scenes as she built the business empire she had always dreamed of. 5 years passed. On the evening before a major new product launch, I went to find her in her home office to bring her a cup of coffee. As I raised my hand to knock, I overheard her talking with her doctor friend, Maya. "Do you honestly believe you can keep a miscarriage from Leo?" Maya asked, her voice low. Clara, touching her stomach, sounded weary and sad. "I have to. Leo doesn't know I was pregnant. I wanted to have a child with Julian, but he was too rough with me one night and I lost it. If Leo finds out you've been putting hormones in his milk and that I got pregnant by Julian, he might lose his mind." Clara let out a long, bitter sigh. "I don't really care anymore. All I want is to make Julian happy. It's worth it. As for Leo, I've given him enough of my life. The effort I've put into this relationship all these years has been completely one-sided. The love I thought we could have was just a fantasy." "You're being so unfair to him," Maya pressed. "Leo has been nothing but good to you. Your company wouldn't be where it is today without him. What has Julian ever done for you that makes you willing to risk a great guy like Leo? Is he worth all this?" Clara's voice was filled with a conflict I had never heard before. "I don't know if it's worth it, but seeing Julian happy is enough for me, even if I have to love him in secret. I plan to compensate Leo with money. If we can't have children of our own, we can just adopt." Her friend sighed. 5 miscarriages for Julian? You're going to destroy your body. You won't be able to have children at all soon. Clara sounded like she was holding her head in her hands. "I know. After I have a child for Julian, I promise I'll focus on being a good wife to Leo." I stood frozen outside the door, my hand still poised to knock. The coffee cup slipped from my fingers and shattered on the floor, the dark liquid spreading across the hardwood. Hearing the noise, I quickly retreated to the kitchen. For 5 long years, I had believed that every one of Clara's miscarriages was my fault. I thought I wasn't taking good enough care of her. I was consumed by guilt, often crying silently at night, blaming myself for our inability to start a family. But now, the truth was laid bare. None of those children were mine. The miscarriages happened because her lover, Julian, was careless with her physical well-being. All her promises of a future together, of a family, were just carefully crafted lies. It was absurd that I had believed them for so long. My entire existence in her life was nothing more than a convenient cover for her long-standing affair. Wiping the tears from my eyes, I turned around just as footsteps approached. "What are you doing just standing there? Maya is waiting for her coffee," Clara said, her eyes narrowed with suspicion as she stared at me. Forcing a smile, I replied, "I accidentally spilled it. I was about to make a fresh pot." She noticed my red-rimmed eyes and stepped forward to wrap her arms around me. "What's wrong? You look like you've been crying." I buried the searing pain deep inside me and shook my head. "It's nothing. I just got news from the tech team. Our new automotive AI system is officially ready. I'm just happy, that's all." "That's amazing!" she exclaimed, kissing my cheek with genuine excitement. 5 years of work has finally paid off. I'm sorry I'm not feeling well enough to celebrate with you tonight, but I promise I'll make it up to you. Why did I even need that kind of reward from her? She had always claimed to be uninterested in physical intimacy, a story I had accepted and respected. I suppressed my own desires, and on the rare occasions she initiated anything, I would be thrilled for the entire day. Now I knew those moments were nothing more than pity, a small token for my unwavering loyalty. Her indifference was reserved only for me. To ensure she could carry Julian's child, she secretly fed me hormones to make me sterile. As Maya left, she gave me a quick, sympathetic look. If I hadn't overheard their conversation, I never would have understood the meaning behind her expression. Later that night, after a shower, I was in bed reading when Clara came in. She was wearing a seductive nightgown and carrying a glass of milk. She sat on the edge of the bed and handed it to me. "You've been reading all night. Have some milk and get some rest." Looking at the frothy white liquid, my heart clenched. In the past, her nightly ritual of making me milk felt like an act of profound love, something I had even bragged about to my friends. Now I saw it for what it was, a mask for her deceit. She noticed my hesitation. "What's wrong? The milk should be drunk while it's warm. The doctor said it's good for your stomach. Drink it all right?" As she pressed the cup to my lips, I knew she would force it down if I refused. Resigned, I drank it all in one gulp. What once tasted sweet and comforting now felt like poison. My stomach churned, and I had to rush to the bathroom to throw it all up. Clara followed, gently rubbing my back. "Why are you vomiting?" When I looked up at her in the mirror, she quickly averted her eyes, probably thinking my body was having a strong reaction to the hormones. I don't know if it was my mind playing tricks on me or the medication finally taking its toll, but I developed a raging fever that night, soaring to 105.8 degrees. I was completely delirious. Clara ran around frantically, trying to cool me down, but my temperature refused to drop. With no other choice, she decided to drive me to the hospital herself. Halfway there, her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, saw the name, and slammed on the brakes so hard my head nearly hit the dashboard. "What? Julian got drunk and started a fight?" Realizing her slip, she glanced over at me. Seeing my eyes were closed, she seemed to sigh in relief. "I'll be right there," she said into the phone. She hung up and shook me awake. "Leo, honey, something urgent came up at work. I have to go back. You'll have to take a cab the rest of the way." Before I could even process what was happening, she got out, unbuckled my seatbelt, and practically dragged me out of the car. Watching her drive off into the night, the red taillights disappearing into the darkness. A profound chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the fever. I pulled out my phone and made a call overseas. "Mom, I'll agree to the terms of Dad's will. I'll accept the marriage alliance. Please cancel my domestic identity. I'll be there in 3 days." I walked for what felt like miles, my body on fire, until I finally collapsed on the sidewalk. When I regained consciousness, I was in a hospital bed. It was already the next day. My mouth was dry, and when I reached for a glass of water, I found no one beside me. A passing nurse saw me struggling and poured me a warm cup. "You were out there with a terrible fever," she said kindly. "You're lucky a passerby found you and brought you here. I called the number on your phone listed as wife." But she kept hanging up. After a few tries, her phone was turned off. "Doesn't your wife care about you?" I could only offer her a bitter smile in response. I checked my phone and saw a notification from a social media app. Julian had posted something late last night. The caption read, "I have no regrets in this life after meeting you." The post was a grid of photos from what looked like a party, with Clara smiling and laughing in every shot. She was looking at someone off-camera with an expression of pure adoration, her engagement ring glaringly visible on her finger. The comments were buzzing. "Julian, aren't you worried your wife will find out and divorce you?" one person wrote. "What are you talking about? Clara is the real deal for Julian," another replied. Julian had responded with a cheeky emoji. "I've blocked the tiger at home. Everyone keep it a secret for me." He had blocked his current wife and my ex-fiancée, Jessica, but had deliberately left the post visible to me. Just as I was about to close the app, I saw that Julian had also sent me a direct message with a link. I opened it by accident and found myself looking at a private couple's online journal. It was filled with declarations of love, intimate conversations, and thousands of pictures of him and Clara dating back 10 years. I scrolled through my own phone's gallery. In the 5 years we were married, I could count the number of photos I had with Clara on one hand. I had tried countless times to take a picture together, but she always refused with some excuse. It wasn't that she disliked having her picture taken. It was that she couldn't fit a third person into the world she had built with him. I was just the unlucky fool who had wandered into their story. I saved all the photos and took screenshots of Julian's post. Before I was discharged, I had the lab take a blood sample to check my hormone levels. When I got home, Clara hadn't returned. The security camera footage confirmed she never came back at all. I looked at the crystal wedding photo we had on the wall. A thin crack ran right through the middle, separating the image of me and Clara. I took it down from the wall just as my phone rang. "Boss, don't forget about the product launch today. We need you there as our lead architect." "Got it," I said. "I'll change and be there soon." At the event, as the host was calling the person in charge of the project to the stage to speak, I adjusted my suit and prepared to step forward. Clara suddenly appeared and stopped me. "Leo, take a break. You were just feverish. I had Julian cover for you." I was confused, and then I noticed a faint, dark mark on her neck. A hickey. She instinctively pulled her collar up, a guilty look flashing across her face. "You know Julian needs a chance to prove himself. He's new here. You're already a well-respected figure in the company. You don't need this spotlight." As Julian passed me on his way to the stage, he smirked. "You're a fool. Your fiancée was mine, and soon your wife won't be yours either. Clara's heart belongs to me." I remained silent, but I could hear the old employees whispering among themselves, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Julian stood confidently at the podium and delivered a speech to the applauding crowd, with Clara watching him with undisguised admiration. My heart felt frozen in my chest. He was spewing words taken directly from my speech, a draft that was locked in my desk drawer at home, a drawer only Clara had the key to. All my hard work had become a gift from Clara to her lover. After Julian finished, reporters swarmed him. One asked, "Mr. Julian, we hear that Leo's efforts were what made this car system a success. Do you have any thoughts on that?" Julian just shrugged. "It takes a team, not just one person. Everyone contributed." With just a few words, he dismissed 5 years of my sleepless nights, including one stretch where I worked for 20 hours straight. I had poured my heart and soul into every design, every version of the plan. But what hurt the most was seeing Clara in the front row, clapping enthusiastically. The moment her eyes met mine, her applause stopped. "Leo, I didn't mean for it to be like this. I know you're the real MVP here," she said quietly when she approached me later. I just looked at her, my face a stone mask. "Clara, you know how much this system means to me. I've been waiting for this day for 5 years." As Julian joined us, Clara's attention shifted entirely to him, ignoring me completely. "I'll make it up to you, I promise," she said to me over her shoulder as she guided Julian to a seat beside her. "Can we talk about this at home tonight?" Was there even going to be a tonight for us? After Julian sat down, some of my loyal colleagues began speaking sarcastically, loud enough for others to hear. "Unbelievable. What kind of person has skin that thick?" "Exactly, that was Leo's hard work he's claiming." "I can't believe it. Everyone knows how hard Leo worked." Hearing these remarks, Julian's eyes welled up with tears. He turned to Clara and said, "If everyone here hates me so much, I'll just leave." He then bolted out of the room, crying. Clara shot me a furious glare. "Did you put them up to this? Control your people. If they have nothing nice to say, they should shut up." She then chased after him, drawing everyone's attention. It seemed I was always being cast as the villain trying to undermine Julian. A month ago, Julian had suddenly appeared as the new technology director. He knew nothing about the field, yet he constantly meddled with the department's designs, causing system tests to fail and delaying the entire project. Everyone blamed him, but Clara had called me into her office and chewed me out. "I can't believe how manipulative you've become, setting people against Julian just because you're unhappy. He's your boss. Does this have to do with him stealing your girlfriend all those years ago?" No matter how I tried to explain, she refused to believe I wasn't behind it. More recently, Julian nearly crashed her car during a business trip, and she blamed me. "You were the last one to drive it, right? You knew there were issues with the brakes and didn't say anything, hoping Julian would get hurt so you could save her some kind of revenge." The disappointed way she looked at me then hurt more than any words could. So this time, I didn't even bother to explain. In the 5 years since the company's inception, she never told anyone we were married. Whenever I suggested we make our relationship public, she would dodge the question, claiming company policy forbade office romances. Eventually, I grew numb to it and stopped asking. After the product launch, Clara didn't come home, nor did she call. Instead, I received a video message from Julian. It was recorded from a car's dash cam. Julian and Clara were tangled together in the cramped front seat. Julian's voice teased, "Compared to that loser of yours, Clara, who's better?" Lost in the moment, she replied instinctively, "Of course it's you. I love you. Only with you do I feel true pleasure." I expected to be furious watching the video, but surprisingly, I felt a strange sense of calm. I saved every second of the footage. On the way home, I made a call and hired someone to investigate Julian's background, because I refused to believe that a man like him could genuinely love anyone. Once I was home, I promptly printed out our divorce papers and signed my name. Alongside them, I placed my letter of resignation and a USB drive containing the videos. I packed everything into a manila envelope and had it messengered to Clara's office. That night, Clara still didn't come home. She just sent a text saying there was an issue with a client and she'd have to travel for a couple of days. "Take care of yourself at home. I'll bring you back a gift." I wasn't surprised by the message at all. First thing the next morning, Julian sent me another video. The scene was a messy hotel room, tissues scattered on the floor, and the sheets in disarray. A delicate hand rested on the blanket. Clara lay there, her eyes closed in a deep sleep. He taunted me in the message. "Leo, Clara looks so beautiful when she's sleeping. We went at it all night, you know? She was exhausted." He continued. "Clara promised that once she's back, she'll sign all of your company shares over to me. She even planned to buy me the most expensive item at today's auction as a birthday gift. She wants to have our child. She's even picked out a name. Just face it, Leo. She doesn't love you." Ignoring his taunts, I blocked his number and continued packing my things. I spotted a drawer filled with a pile of similar-looking watches and belts. On every business trip, Clara brought back these so-called gifts, Always the same cheap items. Once, I jokingly mentioned a colleague who gifted her husband a $50 watch, calling it stingy. She had retorted, "It's the thought that counts. You should be grateful, don't be so demanding." But ever since Julian joined the company, she had showered him with luxury watches and expensive cars. When I complained, she dismissed my feelings with excuses. "You're in the tech department. Why do you need to dress so fancy? Tech guys usually dress plainly, but Julian, he's an overseas returnee and our company's public face. He needs to look the part." No matter what my grievances were, she always found a way to brush them aside. As I tossed these worthless gifts into a trash bag, my phone started vibrating non-stop. The company chat group was buzzing with messages. "Did you hear? Clara spent $50 million on the most expensive item at the auction, a gift for Julian's birthday." Oh my gosh, $50 million! Clara is way too generous. I also heard that Julian proposed to Clara right there at the event, and she was crying. She was so moved. Are you serious? I thought Julian was married. I glanced at the calendar on my phone. Today was my 5-year wedding anniversary with Clara, but she was spending it with another man, buying him extravagant gifts. I couldn't even muster a hint of resentment. Since I was leaving this life behind, why bother caring? With my luggage packed, I headed for the airport. I checked the tracking for the package I'd sent and saw its status was out for delivery. It should be reaching Clara soon, I thought. Just as I was about to board my flight, I received a text from her. "Honey, I'm on my way back from the business trip. I got you something special. I'll stop by the office quickly and then head home. Wait for me, okay?" At the same time, 2 other texts popped up on my phone. One was an official cancellation reminder. "Dear Leo, your domestic identity has been successfully canceled. All associated documents and your phone number will no longer be valid." The other text was the report from the investigator I had hired. I gave it a quick look, smirked, and forwarded the entire file to the company-wide group chat. Then I turned off my phone and stepped onto the boarding ramp. On the other side of the city, Clara and Julian had just gotten back to the office. She glanced at the time and realized she hadn't had a proper meal with me in a while. She called her assistant. "Book a table at a nice restaurant for 2 and call Leo. Tell him lunch is on me." Her assistant did as she was told. Clara sat in her office, staring out at the blue sky, feeling content. She imagined how overjoyed I would be when I received the special gift she had bought for me this time. But before she could even smile at the thought, her assistant rushed in. "Miss Clara, Leo's phone is disconnected. None of us can reach him. Also, a package addressed to you just arrived from him at the front desk." Before Clara could react, Julian snatched the package from the assistant's hands and tore it open. Seeing the divorce papers inside, his eyes lit up. "See, I told you. Leo is just a spoiled, arrogant brat. He's using divorce to threaten you." He placed the papers on her desk, along with my resignation letter and the USB drive. At the sight of the word divorce, Clara's eyes widened. She quickly picked up the agreement to read it. When she saw the clause stating that I would leave with nothing, it felt like her brain had short-circuited. She knew how hard I had worked over the years to build a comfortable life for us. How could I just walk away from billions in assets? As she stared at the papers in disbelief, Julian kept rambling. "Leo is such a fool. He went from being a struggling programmer to a top tech executive all thanks to you, yet he's acting so childish, trying to threaten you with divorce. This is his typical move, playing hard to get. Is he still upset about the launch yesterday? So petty. But don't worry, Clara. I guarantee he'll come crawling back in half a day. Would he really leave a beautiful, successful wife like you? Even if not for love, he'd stay for the money, right?" Clara didn't say anything. Her hand trembled as she clutched the papers. Even now she couldn't believe it was real, but she suddenly felt that Julian might be right. This had to be me playing some kind of game. She put everything back in the desk drawer and declared coldly, "Fine, let's see how long he can hold out." She tried to sound confident, but deep down, she wasn't so sure. For the rest of the day, Clara felt an inexplicable anxiety. In a single hour, she checked her watch over 100 times, her eyes glued to her office door. Every sound in the hallway made her hope it was me returning. But as the sky outside darkened, I didn't show up, and I didn't call. Clara felt a lingering unease. I had never gone more than 6 hours without contacting her. By 8 p.m., she couldn't resist calling my phone. To her shock, just as her assistant had said, the number was disconnected. How could that be? I had used that number for years. She tried again, with the same result. Suddenly, Clara remembered she had my social media login details. She entered the password, only to be met with a message. "This account has been disabled." Her rising unease turned into full-blown panic as she tried several other accounts, even my banking app, with no success. She finally couldn't sit still any longer and called her assistant. "Check Leo's identity information immediately and see if he's bought any plane tickets." Not long after, her assistant returned, looking grim. She reported reluctantly, "Miss Clara, there's no record of Leo's identity in the national database, or any flight information under his name." Clara's mind buzzed as if she'd been struck by thunder. "How?" "Only a dead person has no record." The assistant's next words sent more chills down her spine. "Miss Clara, he did obtain a death certificate. The cause of death was listed as a heart attack." Clara's world fell into chaos. She refused to believe a living, breathing person could just get a death certificate. Suddenly, she remembered the USB drive in her drawer. She hurriedly plugged it into her computer. After seeing the photos and the dashcam footage of her and Julian, her face turned ashen. She collapsed into her chair. He knew. He knew everything. Yet he pretended that nothing was wrong. Her heart ached with a pain so deep it felt physical. Just then, a call came through from her friend Maya. "Clara, did Leo find something out? He had a blood test done before he left the hospital." Clara finally realized that even drugging me couldn't be hidden forever. "Maya, Leo's gone," she said, her voice breaking into sobs. "He sent me divorce papers. I can't find him anywhere." "Did you check at home?" her friend asked. The word suddenly struck her. Right. How did I not think of that? Maybe he's just playing a horrible joke on me. I need to go home and find him." Clara wiped her tears away, didn't even bother to pack up her things, and rushed out the door. But as soon as she stepped out of her office, she ran straight into Julian. He was holding a decorative box and wearing a mischievous grin. "Sweetheart, perfect timing. Guess what's in my hand?" He opened the box to reveal a set of sexy lingerie and sheer stockings. "How about we try this out in your office while nobody's around?" He grabbed her hand, but she shook him off forcefully. "Julian, can't you think of anything else at a time like this?" Julian was taken aback by her sudden outburst. Clara had always been gentle with him, never raising her voice, let alone shouting, but tonight she was acting completely strange. Okay, no trying it on. But do you remember you promised to go with me to that new restaurant tonight?" Clara just wanted to get home to find me. Dinner was the last thing on her mind. "I'm busy. You have a wife at home. Why don't you go find her?" When she tried to leave, Julian blocked her path, looking at her with suspicion. "Are you worried about Leo? I've already told you he's not worth your concern. If he's really gone, wouldn't that be better? There'd be nothing standing between us." He wrapped his arms around her waist, one hand wandering as he whispered in her ear, "You once told me that being with me was the only real joy you felt. Let me show you right now." As he started to lift her skirt, the office hallway lights seemed to flicker. A sharp slap echoed in the silence, stunning him. Clara glared at him, her face dark with fury. "I'm warning you. Harass me again, and I'll report you to the police for sexual harassment." With that, she pushed past him and rushed away. Meanwhile, I had just gotten off a plane in a new country. I noticed a graceful woman waving at me from a short distance away. She caught my eye, tidied her hair, and approached me with a gentle smile. "Are you here to pick me up?" I asked, thinking she had mistaken me for someone else. I was prepared to move on with my luggage, but she nodded. She reached out to shake my hand. "My name is Sophia. Your mother was supposed to pick you up, but something came up last minute, so she asked me to come instead. I've seen photos of you at her house. You're much more handsome in person. Not at all like a typical tech guy." Her shy blush made me smile, a genuine smile that I hadn't felt in a very long time. "I didn't expect to be greeted by someone as beautiful as you," I replied. My compliment made her blush deepen, and she hesitated to meet my gaze. "Let's go get something to eat. I'm starving." Sophia nodded and drove me to a quiet, elegant restaurant. While we waited for our meal, we chatted casually, and I learned that she and my mother were very close. Our families had known each other for generations, with business ties going all the way back to our grandfathers. Sophia smiled at me warmly and said, "You grew up here locally and always refused to go abroad. Even when your father passed away, you only stayed for a month after the funeral to be with your mother. Then you returned with his ashes. You gave up $1 billion inheritance and a powerful identity just to be an average tech worker. I truly admire you for that." When she heard that my marriage hadn't been a happy one, she expressed sincere sympathy. I didn't hide my reasons for finally coming home, after all. "So, despite knowing my situation, you still agreed to this arranged marriage?" I asked. She admitted to having had her own heart broken recently, saying that we shared the same kind of wounds. In that moment, I realized that arranged marriages weren't always a bad thing. When two people understood each other's pain, they might be more inclined to cherish one another. In my world, Clara had completely disappeared. Back in my old life, Clara hurried home, but no matter how hard she searched, the house was empty. In the cold, silent rooms, she could almost hear my laughter echoing. She remembered the familiar scent of smoke that clung to my clothes, the warmth and tenderness of my arms when I held her. In that moment, she realized just how much I had truly meant to her. "Leo, could you really be so heartless as to abandon me?" she whispered to the empty house. "No matter where you are, even if it's at the ends of the earth, even if it costs me everything I have to find you." The next day, when Clara returned to work, her assistant was shocked by her appearance. It seemed like she had aged a decade overnight. Her once dark hair was streaked with gray, and her exhausted face and bloodshot eyes showed how utterly drained she was. "Call an emergency meeting," she commanded. When all the employees were gathered, Clara announced some startling news. She planned to sell the company and use all the money to find me. For the very first time, she revealed to everyone that she and I were married. They were stunned. Clara had hidden our relationship so well for so many years, right under their noses. As she heard their whispers, a bitter smile crossed her face. Only now did she begin to understand the pain I must have felt all those years, pretending to be just colleagues when we were husband and wife, all while she flirted openly with Julian, not even caring when people called her the other woman. Back in her office, Julian stormed in angrily. "I'm against you selling the company." Clara gave him a cold stare. "What right do you have to disagree?" Seeing the fury in her expression, Julian's confidence faltered, and he replied quietly, "This company took so much effort to build. How could you sell it, especially for someone as useless as Leo?" Clara sneered, suddenly pulling out her phone and showing him a document. This was sent to the company group chat by an anonymous employee yesterday. Have a look." Julian nervously took the phone, his hands shaking so much he nearly dropped it. "Slander! This is total slander," he stammered. Clara then threw another stack of documents onto the desk in front of him. I didn't believe it at first either, so I hired a private investigator. "Do you want to know what I found out? You're a complete scoundrel. You didn't come back from overseas for me, or even for your wife. You came back because you're in deep gambling debt with no way out. You embezzled millions of dollars from my company using my name to do it. I also found out that 5 years ago you were the one who broke up my husband and his former fiancée just because you were after her family's wealth. Once you wasted all of that, you turned your attention to me. You plotted with our company's competitors to force Leo out, aiming to weaken the company by removing its tech genius, making it an easy target for a cheap acquisition, right?" Clara's shouting left Julian speechless. "Clara, let me explain." But before he could plead his case, her assistant rushed in. "Miss Clara, there are some very dangerous-looking men outside. They're asking specifically for Julian." When Julian heard this, panic washed over his face, and he dropped to his knees. "Clara, you've got to help me. Those guys are ruthless. Please, lend me some money." Seeing him crying and groveling reminded Clara of how he had used her for years. A deep rage boiled inside her. She wanted to tear him apart. She had lost tens of millions of dollars because of him. She had suffered through multiple abortions because of him. And she had lost the one person who truly loved her because of him. She ordered security to throw Julian out. As she heard his cries from the street below, she felt nothing. A month later, I married Sophia. We didn't invite many people. It was just a small ceremony with close family and friends. When it came time to exchange the rings, a woman wearing a white wedding dress suddenly burst into the ceremony. It was Clara. Despite the security guard's efforts to stop her, she ran towards the altar. "Leo, you can't marry her. Let's get married again, and this time I'll truly love you," she cried, tears streaming down her face as she stumbled towards me. Everyone turned to look at me, including Sophia, as if to see what choice I would make. But I didn't even spare Clara a glance. I took the ring and slipped it onto Sophia's finger. "You are the woman I choose for life, and I will love you forever." "No, you don't love her!" Clara shrieked. "How long have you even known her? We were married for 5 years. I'm the one you love." She charged up the steps, pushed Sophia aside, and clutched my hand, staring desperately into my eyes. "Leo, I know you're upset about how I treated you. I was wrong, and I'm back now. That bastard Julian has nothing. I forced him to return everything he took from me, and I cut all ties with him. I sold the company, I spent all my savings, and I took a month to find you. I even wore a wedding dress today to remarry you and start over. Please, just give me another chance." I pulled my hand from her grasp and shielded Sophia behind me, shaking my head. "There is no possibility of that. From the day you drugged me, from the moment you cheated on me with Julian, we became strangers." I signaled to the security guards, who then charged forward. Clara struggled desperately. "No! I don't want to leave you! Leo, I know you still love me!" Seeing that I wasn't moved, she grabbed a sharp dessert fork from a nearby table and held it to her own throat. "Choose me or her?" I ignored her threats and took Sophia's hand. "Like I said, she is my one and only wife. Your life or death means nothing to me." Clara looked at me in disbelief, crying and shaking her head. She never imagined I could be so heartless. But when she had hurt me so deeply, did she ever consider any of our past affection? I was only repaying her in kind. Understanding my resolve, Clara eventually stopped struggling. She left the divorce papers on a table as she was escorted out, her figure retreating in sorrow. Regarding the fact that her drugging might have left me infertile, I told Sophia everything before we got married. but she didn't mind at all. "I may not have known you for very long," she had said, "but from the moment I met you, I knew you were the one. Even if we can't have our own kids, what's the big deal?" Though she said she didn't care, I knew every woman dreams of becoming a mother. Over the next year, I sought out the best doctors and finally found a treatment that worked. On our first wedding anniversary, Sophia joyfully announced that she was pregnant. We held each other and cried tears of pure happiness. When I returned to my home country to pay respects at my father's grave and share the good news with my extended family, I ran into some old colleagues. We chatted at a coffee shop. Initially, they were hesitant to talk about Clara, but eventually one of them couldn't hold back any longer. They told me that Clara was in prison. When she had returned from her trip abroad searching for me, she discovered she was pregnant with Julian's child. Julian, facing multiple criminal charges and having been divorced by his ex-wife, had pathetically begged Clara for forgiveness. Considering she was carrying his child and had been so coldly rejected by me, she had reluctantly stayed with him in her despair. But what she didn't expect was that Julian, desperate for money, forced her into prostitution and drugged her. She awoke one morning, naked in a stranger's bed, and the trauma resulted in another miscarriage. At the hospital, she was not only diagnosed with a serious disease, but was also told she would never be able to bear children again. That was the final straw that broke her completely. One night, as Julian slept, she stabbed him through the heart, dismembered his body, and then turned herself in, calmly waiting for the police to arrive. But just a day before I returned to the country, she had died in prison, her body worn down by illness and the toll of her multiple abortions. As I listened to what had happened, I just took a quiet sip of my coffee. The bitterness seemed more intense than usual. After paying my respects to my father on my way back to the airport, I saw Clara's best friend, Maya. "Leo," she said, stopping me, "you must have heard what happened to Clara. She left you a letter. She wrote it in prison. She wanted me to tell you that she has always loved you, deeply. But by the time she realized her mistakes, it was too late. She regrets all the hurt she caused you and wishes that she could be your wife in another life." I just smiled lightly, pulled out a lighter from my pocket, and burned the unopened letter right there in front of her. Another life? I only believe in this one.